Thank you so much for joining today, Jeremy. The conversation's been great so far. So we'll walk through some of the questions that Lembrook would like to hear you answer. So without further ado, tell me a little bit more about yourself and what is your why?
Yeah. Well, again, I'm Jeremy Andrews, born and raised in Savannah, Georgia. And, right now, my why in life is just to be good to others. Throughout my life, I've worked in the community, I've worked in churches, I've worked in schools, and I honestly just really, really want to see our community be better. That's my why.
Love it. Tell me about a time you looked at data from a report or ATS system and had to make a recommendation, and be specific about what company you were with, what was the exact situation, what did you observe, what was your recommendation?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I actually used to work with our global DEI team at Amazon. And so I had an opportunity to actually pull data around cultural diversity in the tech space. And so one of the things that I uncovered was the fact that only 2% of African Americans and 1% of Asians were passing through the hiring process. And so we did a little investigation on what that could possibly be and why it looks that way. And what we found was that it just wasn't enough applicants flowing through the pipeline. So the ones that actually flew through the pipeline the swiftest and in the most abundance, I should say, was Asian. I'm sorry, not Asian, but Caucasian and Hispanic were the ones who actually applied the most. And so it wasn't a thing of any bias or anything like that. And I'm pretty sure there is some bias in the hiring process somewhere. We all have bias. But what we tried to do was we tried to open up initiatives that would garner more applicants from African American communities and also the Asian community as well.
That's really cool. I think that's really important to consider that when you're looking at like the breakdown of percentages of the different ethnicities, because there might just not be enough applicants in a certain department. So that's cool to hear you talk about that. Um, Walk me through what steps you feel are included in being a full cycle recruiter from the moment you get a requisition.
Yeah, I mean, it can, when you start the process, you're either passively sourcing or you're looking at applicants. And typically, I try to give applicants priority because those are the people who actually showed interest in the role initially. But whether you're doing passive sourcing or whether you're looking at a pipeline from applicants, it's always good to first start with your outreach to those qualified candidates. From there, you set up your screeners. Or your phone screens, interviews, however you want to do it, whether it's face to face, whether it's over the phone, whether it's virtual. Go ahead and reach out to those candidates that you feel may be the most viable and screen them, see what their motivations are, see what their qualifications are, listen to what they know about the role, what they know about the company, and from there, make a determination whether or not you want to move forward. For me, in my past and current roles, what I do is I actually do my screening with them, and then I make my recommendations to the hiring team about moving forward. Depending on the hiring process, we either do another interview with them, that's a one and done, or we do panel interviews and send them through like maybe a third or a fourth interview, just depending on what the role is. From there, if there is an offer made, I typically am the one to reach out and say, hey, we want to offer you this role. How do you feel about these details surrounding the role and the offer and the salary and things of that nature? Once they give me the verbal yes, I send it over to HR. HR does all of the paperwork and all of the documentation for onboarding. I then work with them to make sure that the candidate gets all that information and that they turn it in a timely fashion. From there, we begin the process to get them set up for day one. Once we get all the documentation back, we actually reach back out to the candidate to talk about next steps and what orientation would look like and all of that. And I get them set up for orientation in day one as well. And then I do a day one check-in. And in some cases, I've actually done a 30-day check-in with the candidate. So you're basically just walking them through the process and you're staying with them, holding their hand through that process, and just kind of being their guide through the hiring process. And I think that's the best way to not only start the retention process, and reduce attrition, but it's also a good way to continue to build healthy pipelines, get referrals, and also promote the company culture. Oh, I'm sorry, I can no longer hear you.
My apologies. I muted myself while I was listening to you. So in any of your past positions, did you handle the onboarding paperwork ever, like doing I-9s or background checks or anything like that, processing all that?
Yeah. Actually, with Bright Spring Health Services,
Okay.
we actually did the background check. We actually walked them through the drug testing process. We actually got all the paperwork for HR and submitted it to HR on their behalf as well.
Okay, wonderful. Just want to be sure you were involved in every step of the way.
Mhm.
Tell me about a time you had to help a hiring manager think about things differently, whether it was they had an open position. How have you handled those conversations?
Yeah, well, one of my most recent roles, and a role that actually gave me quite some difficulty with getting it filled, was a principal product manager role that I had available. And they were very specific about what they were looking for. And the criteria was so slim to where it was like finding a needle in a haystack, pretty much. And so I had to go to one of the hiring managers. First, I went to my manager and said, hey, look, this is an issue for us. Nobody's been able to fill these roles, and this is why I think we're not able to fill these roles. No one has all these qualifications. So can we kind of tailor it to where we're open to possibly other candidates from other industries, or possibly omit some of these qualifications so that we can get someone that can do the job and can possibly be trained on the job if need be. And so I went to my manager. My manager kind of gave me the okay to approach the hiring team. I went to the hiring team and said, hey, this is what I'm finding. We're not able to fill this role. We're not able to find candidates for this role, and this is why. And the hiring manager was very, very open to my suggestion. What we did in the end was we actually tailored the role a little bit and took away some of those qualifications. And we actually added some small things in there just so we can get a larger pool of candidates and a lot more viable candidates just based around some of those nuances.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think those experiences are so valuable to be able to tell that story to the next hiring manager. Like, before you even go down the path of trying to fill something so challenging, it's like, here's what I experienced with that manager. So let me help you avoid that situation so we can get this filled quicker. I like that example. What are you looking for in a new position?
I'm looking to grow, as everyone is looking to grow. I think for me, I'm looking to demonstrate some of the skills that I've gained along the way, whether that be reading data and doing market research and showing others, where there may be gaps in the hiring process, or, whether it is showing someone, how to walk through an HR administration process. I'm just looking to, be with a company that's going to value my skills and allow me to showcase those, and allow me, to help them be successful in all of their hiring needs. And I think for me, it's not so much about money or title as it is about making a difference.
Yeah, I appreciate that. What skills do you think you bring to the table that qualify you for this position?
For me, my number one, skill is relationship building. I think that in order to have a successful process, you have to have collaboration. And one of my strong suits has been building rapport with hiring teams and candidates alike, and just making sure that the team knows expectations, that we have a clear-cut process. And so for me, that's one of my strengths, and that's a couple of my strengths, actually. And then I think my last strength that I want to mention is just the ability to deliver. I am very results driven, and I'm about delivering results.
I love that. What type of work environment do you thrive in?
Again, one that is collaborative. I know there's room for autonomous work, but I love being with the team. I love being able to share feedback and share ideas. And I think I thrive the most when I can, collaborate with my team, talk to my team, build healthy relationships with my team.
Love that. What do you find challenging about your current position?
Challenging. Gosh, I think every role comes with its own challenges. I think one of the biggest challenges for me is feeling like I'm not doing enough. I think it's more of a personal thing.
Sure.
I'm always feeling like I'm not doing enough. What else can I do? And so honestly, I always have to kind of talk myself off the ledge, with that one, because I can overthink sometimes, but I think it's probably a personal thing. It's not so much about the roles that I'm trying to fill. It's not about the organization, because every organization has its own challenges.
Yeah, That makes perfect sense. Well, I appreciate you answering all those questions. So I will hit the stop record button. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.